This is the Sleep Historian. Each night we explore the echoes of the past, stories told slowly to calm the mind and ease you towards sleep. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through time, please like and subscribe, and let the next story begin. Far out in the southeastern Pacific, beyond shipping lanes and familiar coastlines, lies an expanse of water so wide and quiet, it feels almost untouched by time. In this loneliness, a small volcanic island rises from the deep. Dark cliffs, green slopes, and a shoreline brushed by slow, rhythmic waves. The air is mild, salted, and still. Clouds drift in long, patient layers above the sea. From a distance, the island appears empty, anonymous, a speck on a vast blue canvas. But draw closer, and faint silhouettes emerge along the coast. Tall, unmoving forms, watching the horizon in silence. As you near the land, those shapes resolve into figures. Massive stone statues standing shoulder to shoulder, their faces carved in calm, unreadable expressions. They look outward, not at the island, but toward the endless sea, as if waiting for something that never arrived. Their presence gives the landscape a quiet tension, a sense that stories lie buried beneath grass and ash. The island has a name whispered through centuries: Rapa Nui. Europeans later called it Easter Island. Here, mystery is not an idea. It is a feeling held in stone, wind, and the steady gaze of ancient eyes. Time drifts backward, and the modern world fades like a distant shoreline. You find yourself in the first millennium CE, as Polynesian voyagers cross the Pacific in double-hulled canoes. Their sails catch gentle winds, guiding them across open water thousands of miles wide. Stars serve as maps. Ocean swells provide direction. On one calm night, a lookout notices a dark shadow breaking the moonlit horizon. Land where none was expected. The island is small, forested, and isolated. As canoes glide toward a narrow beach, paddles dip quietly into the sea. The first footsteps on Rapa Nui leave faint marks in damp sand. Morning reveals an island shaped by dormant volcanoes. Rano Kau in the southwest, Poik in the east, and the broad slopes of Teravaka in between. Birds circle overhead. Palm forests sway in the breeze. The shores offer fish, and the soil promises crops. The new settlers begin exploring gently, moving through soft grass and scattered stones. One man pauses to examine a smooth rock surface glinting in sunlight. Basalt, dense and dark. Another kneels to pick up volcanic tuff, light and workable. These materials speak softly of possibility. The island feels isolated, but abundant enough to build a future. Shelters rise near the coast, curved structures made from wood and leaves, shaped like inverted boats. Fires crackle as fish roast, and palm nuts are cracked open with simple tools. At night, families gather beneath clear skies filled with stars, unfamiliar yet steady. The wind carries a faint chill from the sea, touching skin and grass alike. In the glow of the flames, elders speak of ancestors and long voyages, linking this new land to distant homelands across the Pacific. A child traces patterns in ash with a fingertip, unaware that this island will become one of history's great enigmas. Seasons turn. Crops take root in volcanic soil. Taro, sweet potatoes, and bananas. Stone gardens are arranged carefully, protecting plants from wind and preserving moisture. Fishing continues along the rocky coast. The population grows, slowly at first, then steadily. Social groups, clans, form around family lineages. Each claims territory, builds homes, and honors ancestors through rituals performed near sacred spaces. Tools become more refined. Basalt adzes chip wood. Obsidian flakes become blades. In one quiet moment, a carver runs a hand along a newly sharpened edge, feeling pride in the smoothness. The island's rhythm finds balance. With stability comes ambition. The people of Rapa Nui begin shaping their environment in ways both practical and spiritual. Stone platforms known as ahu rise along the coasts, low rectangular structures built from carefully fitted rocks. They face inland, toward villages and fields. Each platform becomes a focal point for community gatherings, ceremonies, and remembrance. Small stone statues appear, carved in simplified human forms. They stand modestly, heads slightly raised. A craftsman gently brushes dust from a figure's face. This quiet task marks the beginning of a tradition that will reshape the island's identity and puzzle future generations. Generations pass, skills deepen, knowledge of stone grows. Carvers explore the slopes of Rano Raraku, a volcanic crater with cliffs of soft tuff perfect for sculpting. Here, a new idea emerges. Taller, more detailed figures to honor ancestors. The first large Moai take shape, their faces elongated, noses straight, chins strong. These features become a style shared across clans. The work is slow and patient. A hammerstone strikes tough in steady rhythms, sending small chips scattering onto dust. The carvers speak softly, respecting the solemn nature of their task. Art and belief merge into a single purpose. Finished Moai are transported from quarry to ahu. The journey is long and deliberate. The statues, some weighing many tons, are moved upright, rocked forward step by step. Dozens of workers guide them with ropes, chanting to maintain rhythm. Feet press into earth that grows smooth under repeated passage. The sight is extraordinary. A towering figure gliding across the landscape like a patient traveler. Onlookers watch in silence, sensing the weight of the moment. Not just physical mass, but the presence of ancestors being brought home. At each arrival, celebrations follow, marked by song and shared meals. Once raised atop their platforms, the Moai stand facing inland, overlooking fields and homes rather than the sea. Their placement reflects a belief that ancestors watch over the living, offering protection and guidance. Some Moai receive red scoria topknots, pukao, carved from a different quarry, adding height and distinction. Coral eyes are set into sockets, giving the statues an almost lifelike gaze. A quiet reverence fills the air as final touches are completed. At dusk, shadows stretch behind the Moai, merging with the land they guard. The island feels watched, supported, and connected to its past. By the 13th century, the island supports thousands of people. Villages line the coasts. Fields extend inland. Canoes glide along rocky shorelines as fishermen cast nets into clear water. Trade and alliance link clans, but subtle rivalries linger beneath the surface. At gatherings, leaders wear feathered cloaks, obsidian ornaments, and headdresses. Their status is reinforced by the Moai standing behind them, solemn and silent. The statues become symbols of prestige, each clan striving to build taller, more imposing figures. The landscape transforms into an open-air gallery where stone faces form a quiet procession across the island's edge. Rano Raraku becomes the heart of production. The quarry's inner slopes hold dozens of moai in various stages, some partly carved from bedrock, others nearly complete. The crater's floor is covered with tools, chips of tuff, and footprints pressed into soil. Workers gather at dawn, carrying food wrapped in leaves. One man pauses to wipe dust from his wrist, leaving a pale streak across dark skin. The air smells of earth warmed by sunlight. Carving is both labor and devotion, a physical expression of spiritual continuity. Each statue carries the weight of lineage, honor, and ancestral presence. Construction techniques become more refined. Larger moai appear, some over 10 meters tall. Engineers shape ramps, levering systems and pathways to guide their movement. Songs coordinate effort, turning strenuous work into rhythmic unity. Along one route, a child watches as ropes tighten and a statue shifts slightly forward. The ground vibrates beneath small feet. The adults remain focused, their breathing steady. The process has become tradition, a practiced art passed through generations. The landscape bears the marks of this passage: polished grooves, flattened paths, and scattered fragments of stone that glint in afternoon light. Ahu grow more elaborate. Some platforms stretch hundreds of feet along the shoreline, built with stones fitted so precisely that blades of grass cannot slip between them. Builders examine each rock carefully, rotating it to find the perfect alignment. Water carries boulders closer to shore, guided by rafts and flotation. During ceremonies, dancers perform near the Ahu, feet brushing dust from stone floors. Drums echo softly against cliffs, and torches cast flickering light on moai faces. The atmosphere feels both celebratory and sacred, a living connection between the island's present and an ancestral world beyond ordinary sight. As decades pass, forests begin to thin. Wood is needed for canoes, fuel, and construction. Palm trees fall gradually, replaced by grass and shrubs. Some notice the change: fewer tall trunks, fewer birds nesting in high branches. Farmers adjust techniques, creating stone mulching systems to retain moisture in fields exposed to wind. A fisherman sits on a smooth rock, mending a net with careful fingers, glancing occasionally at the hills that once held dense forest. The island still provides, but the balance feels subtler, more delicate. Nature and human ambition move forward together, sharing the same limited space. Social complexity deepens. Clans compete quietly through the scale and number of their moai. Status becomes tied to construction achievements. Leaders meet to settle disputes, exchanging gifts and promises. Yet beneath the formalities, tension forms, not loud or sudden, but gradual, like pressure within stone. Elders sense change. They speak of rising populations and shifting resources. One evening, a council sits near a fire, embers glowing softly against the night. A carved stone figurine rests beside a leader's hand, polished from years of touch. The flame's reflection dances across its surface, hinting at both pride and concern. Despite growing challenges, cultural life thrives. Tattooing flourishes, with intricate patterns marking identity and achievement. Artworks depict birds, canoes, and human forms. Oral traditions deepen, linking each generation to mythic origins and heroic voyages. Dances mimic the flight of seabirds, arms extended in sweeping arcs. The sound of chanting carries across the island at dawn. Children imitate the movements, laughing, unaware of the subtle pressures shaping their world. The Moai continue to rise, forming a silent audience to these celebrations, stone witnesses to joy, effort, and the unbroken thread of human creativity. By now, Rapa Nui is fully shaped by its people. Paths radiate from quarry to coast. Gardens dot the slopes. Villages stretch along shorelines. At a high vantage point, the island appears orderly and purposeful, a living system built through countless small actions. Yet isolation remains absolute. There is no nearby land, no influx of new resources, no outside contact to relieve strain. The sea encircles everything in a quiet boundary. A fisherman launches a canoe into gentle surf, feeling the weight of solitude more than ever. The horizon is beautiful but unyielding, a vast blue limit. As the 14th century unfolds, environmental pressures intensify. The last tall palms fall, leaving hills exposed to wind and erosion. Canoe building becomes difficult without long timber. Fishing shifts to nearshore waters. Some species grow scarce. Farmers work harder to maintain yields, adding more stones to gardens, adjusting planting patterns. A woman brushes soil from her hands, noticing how light and dry it has become. The island still sustains life, but with less ease than before. The Moai stand firm along the coast, their silent presence contrasting with the increasingly fragile balance of daily survival. Clans respond differently to scarcity. Some cooperate, sharing fields and tools. Others intensify rivalry, investing more energy into constructing grander Moai as symbols of dominance. The statues grow taller, but the resources supporting them shrink. On a late afternoon, workers strain to move a massive figure along a worn path. The ropes creak, dust rises. A carver wipes sweat from his brow, glancing toward the empty horizon as if searching for relief. The effort continues, driven by tradition and pride. Yet beneath the rhythmic motions lies a quiet question. How long can this momentum last? Tensions simmer. Disputes over land and water become more frequent. Elders counsel restraint, reminding clans of shared ancestry and the importance of unity. But whispers spread, suggestions that some Moai no longer bring prosperity, that ancestors' favor has grown uneven. One evening, a heated discussion breaks out near an ahu. Voices rise briefly, then fall into uneasy silence. A young man sits apart, running a thumb along a smooth stone, tracing grooves carved generations earlier. The memory of abundance feels distant. The future feels uncertain. The Moai's steady gaze offers no answers. In response to hardship, ritual practices evolve. New ceremonies emphasize protection, fertility, and guidance. Offerings of food and crafted objects are placed near ahu. Priests recite ancient chants, calling upon ancestral strength. Smoke from small fires drifts into cool air, carrying the scent of herbs and wood. Participants stand barefoot on stone floors, feeling the ground's firmness beneath them. The rituals provide comfort, a sense of continuity in a changing world. Yet there is a subtle shift, a growing belief that more than tradition may be needed to restore balance. As disputes escalate, cooperation falters. Clans guard their territories more fiercely. Some paths between villages grow quiet, no longer shared freely. In isolated pockets, hostility takes root. Stories speak of sabotage, broken tools, damaged crops, disrupted construction. The Moai, once symbols of unity and ancestral guidance, become markers of division. A craftsman sits alone near a half-carved statue, the unfinished face staring upward. He touches the rough stone surface, feeling a mix of pride and unease. The island's silence deepens, filled not with peace, but with the weight of unresolved conflict. At Samahu, construction halts altogether. Partially carved moai remain in the quarry, frozen in time. Others lie along transport routes, abandoned mid-journey. Workers disperse to focus on more immediate needs: food, shelter, defense. The grand projects that once defined communal identity lose momentum. A child walking near Rano Raraku pauses beside a fallen statue, its head partially buried in soil. Wind rustles grass around it. The child reaches out, brushing dust from the stone's surface. The moment is quiet but symbolic, a generation growing up amid the remnants of unfinished ambition. By the 15th century, tensions erupt into open conflict. Rival clans clash, targeting not only each other but the symbols of their power. Moai are toppled, their massive bodies tilting forward until faces meet earth with muted thuds. The sound echoes against cliffs, carried by wind. Statues that once stood tall now lie horizontal, their gazes redirected toward the land they once watched over. The act is not random destruction, but a deliberate gesture, the removal of ancestral authority. Dust settles on fractured platforms. The island, once defined by rising monuments, becomes marked by their fall. In the aftermath, communities reorganize. Defensive structures appear. Food production becomes more localized. Social power shifts from statue-building leaders to those who can ensure survival. The Moai remain toppled, their silence now heavier, their meaning changed. Some elders mourn the loss of tradition. Others accept it as necessary. The landscape feels altered, not only physically but emotionally. Where towering figures once stood, empty platforms face inland, exposed to wind and time. The island enters a new era, shaped less by monumental construction and more by immediate practical concerns. With the decline of Moai culture, a new belief system rises, the Birdman cult, centered around the sacred island of Motu Nui, just off the southwestern coast. Each year, competitors chosen by clans attempt a daring challenge: swim to the islet, retrieve the first sooty tern egg of the season, and return it safely. The victor's patron gains leadership for the year. The ritual shifts the focus from stone to action, from ancestral monuments to living competition. At dawn, waves lap against rocky cliffs as participants prepare, muscles tense, breath steady, eyes fixed on open water. The swim is dangerous. Sharp rocks line the shore. Currents tug at limbs. The sea feels vast and cold. Competitors move into the water, strokes rhythmic, faces set with determination. Observers watch from cliffside edges, gripping smooth stones for balance. A woman wraps her arms around herself, feeling the chill carried by the wind. The swimmers become small shapes against the blue expanse, their movements steady but fragile. When one reaches Motu Nui and lifts an egg carefully into a woven pouch, a distant cheer rises, carried faintly across the waves. The island breathes in collective anticipation. The return is even more perilous. The swimmer must navigate back while protecting the fragile egg. Waves crash against rocks. Spray catches sunlight, forming momentary prisms. Onlookers lean forward, hearts quickening. A climber scales the cliff with practiced steps, clutching the egg to his chest. When he reaches the top unharmed, a hush falls before celebration erupts. Chanting, dancing, and the gentle placement of the egg before a priest. A new leader is named. The ritual brings renewed order, offering a symbolic path forward beyond the era of toppled statues. Life adjusts to new rhythms. Canoes, now smaller and stitched from limited materials, explore nearshore waters. Fishing becomes central again. Stone chicken houses, called hair moa, protect valuable birds. Small gardens and rock enclosures shelter crops from wind. A farmer kneels among stone piles, turning soil with careful hands. The air smells of earth and salt. Though resources remain strained, innovation persists. The focus shifts from grand monuments to sustainable survival. The landscape feels quieter, humbler, yet still infused with cultural pride and memory. Ancient quarries grow silent. Tools lie abandoned where they fell. Half-carved moai remain embedded in bedrock, their unfinished forms sloping upward like frozen dreams. Grass grows around their bases. Rain etches fine channels along their surfaces. A lone carver visits the quarry one afternoon, touching a chisel left by an ancestor. The metal is cold, weathered, and still. He closes his hand around it briefly, then sets it back gently. The moment carries a mix of nostalgia and acceptance, a quiet acknowledgement of a chapter that is ended, but not forgotten. Despite hardship, cultural expression continues. Petroglyphs appear on stones near Orongo village. Carved birds, faces, and symbols related to the Birdman tradition. Fingers trace grooves worn smooth by time. Storytellers recount legends of creation, voyaging, and ancestral spirits. Children gather around low fires, listening as sparks drift upward. The stories offer comfort, linking present struggles to a larger narrative of resilience. Though the Moai no longer rise, history remains alive in voices, gestures, and carved lines that echo through generations. The environment shifts further. Without trees, soil erosion accelerates. Hills become bare, revealing red earth beneath thin grass. Bird populations decline as nesting habitats disappear. Fishing grows more challenging. The sea offers food, but storms occasionally lash the coast, making harvests unpredictable. A fisherman stands on a rocky outcrop, scanning the horizon. His net hangs loosely from one hand. The wind stings his cheeks. He inhales deeply, tasting salt in the air. The island's vulnerability feels palpable, a delicate balance between endurance and scarcity. Still, community bonds persist. People share meals, tools, and stories. Seasonal rituals continue, guiding the year's rhythm. Songs rise at dawn, echoing across empty slopes. Laughter returns in small moments. A child chasing seabirds. Friends repairing a canoe with quiet jokes. Though the island's grandeur has faded, dignity remains. The Moai lie toppled, but their presence lingers in memory, a reminder of past achievement. Life moves forward with quiet determination, shaped not by monuments, but by daily acts of care and resilience. In the early 18th century, distant sails appear on the horizon. The sight is unfamiliar. Tall masts, canvas billowing in wind, wooden hulls cutting through waves with deliberate speed. Islanders gather along cliffs, shading their eyes from sun glare. The ships approach slowly, carrying an aura of strangeness. The sea, long a barrier isolating Rapa Nui from the world, now delivers visitors unlike any seen before. Anxiety and curiosity mix in the air. The Moai, toppled or standing, witness the moment in silence, their stone faces turned inland, unaware of the change forming offshore. On April 5, 1722, Easter Sunday, Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen lands on the island. His crew disembarks cautiously, boots pressing into black volcanic sand. They observe the landscape with astonishment, noting the massive statues and the island's apparent isolation. Islanders approach tentatively, offering gestures of greeting. The air feels tense but calm. Roggeveen records his impressions in a journal, writing of giant stone figures and a landscape shaped by human hands. A quill scratches across paper in steady lines, capturing a glimpse of a culture that has evolved in solitude for centuries. Roggeveen's visit is brief, but his descriptions spark curiosity in Europe. Maps mark the island, placing it within a global network for the first time. Years later, in 1774, Captain James Cook arrives. He finds toppled Moai, limited vegetation, and signs of struggle. He notes small canoes, sparse crops, and weathered faces. Cook's crew trades goods with islanders, cloth, beads, metal tools, introducing materials unseen before. A Rapa Nui villager holds a nail, turning it thoughtfully between fingers, feeling its weight and smoothness. The world beyond the Pacific has now entered Rapa Nui's story. European contact brings profound shifts. Diseases previously unknown spread quietly through communities. Populations decline. Conflicts intensify. Later visits introduce new pressures. Missionaries, traders, and outsiders seeking labor. The island's social and spiritual foundations are tested. Elders observe changes with concern. One sits near an ahu, tracing circles in dust, recalling a time when ceremonies united the clans. Now, uncertainty hangs like mist over the land. The Moai, fallen or buried, become remnants of a distant age, overshadowed by immediate challenges. In the 19th century, slave raids devastate the island. Hundreds are taken to South America, including leaders and skilled artisans. Many never return. Knowledge tied to oral tradition and ritual is lost. Villages feel emptier. Songs become quieter. A mother stands near the shore, scanning the horizon long after ships have vanished. The sea, once a source of identity and sustenance, now embodies loss. The island grows quieter still, its population reduced to a fraction of former numbers. The silence contains grief, resilience, and unspoken questions about the future. Missionaries arrive, introducing new beliefs and practices. Christianity gradually replaces traditional rituals. Churches rise where stone platforms once held ceremonies. The Birdman cult fades. Sacred sites become neglected. Yet some islanders preserve fragments of ancient knowledge, passing stories in hushed voices. A carved wooden figure of a birdman rests in a private home, hidden from outsiders. A hand gently brushes dust from its surface, honoring a legacy threatened by time and upheaval. Cultural identity survives in quiet acts of remembrance. By the late 19th century, the island becomes a sheep ranch under foreign control. Most inhabitants are confined to a small settlement near Hanga Row. Traditional lands lie unused or forgotten. Fences stretch across fields once shaped by gardens and pathways. A man leans against a post, gazing at distant Moai lying broken and overgrown. The wind carries the scent of salt and grass. The isolation that once defined Rapa Nui now feels compounded by external dominance, reducing movement and autonomy. The landscape holds memories beneath layers of change. Yet even in this constrained era, resilience endures. Songs continue, family bonds strengthen. A few elders share stories of ancestors, voyages, and the time when Moai stood tall along the coast. Children listen, wide-eyed, imagining a world different from the one they know. Hope flickers quietly, a belief that heritage might one day find recognition beyond the island's shores. The statues, though fallen, remain a powerful symbol of identity, waiting patiently for rediscovery. In the 20th century, archaeological interest grows. Researchers arrive to study the Moai, the Ahu, and the island's history. Excavations reveal that many statues once stood upright, adorned with coral eyes and red topknots. Teams carefully document tools, quarries, and transport routes. A brush sweeps dirt from a buried Moai's face, revealing carved features softened by centuries of weather. The quiet act of uncovering connects past and present, offering glimpses into forgotten craftsmanship. Awareness of Rapa Nui's cultural significance begins to spread worldwide. Restoration projects follow. Platforms are rebuilt. Moai are raised once more to their standing positions. Cranes lift stone bodies slowly, ropes taut, movements measured. Islanders watch, some with tears in their eyes, as statues regain their upright posture. The moment feels both triumphant and solemn, a return of ancestral presence. Coral eyes are restored in a few monuments, giving them a gaze that feels strikingly alive. Visitors begin to travel thousands of miles to witness this rebirth, drawn by the island's enigmatic beauty. Scientific studies broaden understanding. Researchers analyze pollen, soil, and charcoal, piecing together the island's environmental history. They uncover evidence of widespread palm forests, deforestation, and ecological transformation. The story becomes more nuanced, not one of sudden collapse, but gradual adaptation, resilience, and cultural evolution. A scientist kneels beside a core sample, holding a magnifying lens to tiny fragments of ancient pollen. The discovery is small but meaningful, revealing how landscapes and societies shape each other over time. Debates emerge about how the Moai were moved. Some propose wooden sleds or rollers. Others suggest upright rocking methods using ropes and coordinated steps. Experiments demonstrate that statues can indeed be walked forward with rhythmic motion. A team tests this technique on a replica, adjusting ropes in unison. With each shift, the statue inches ahead. Observers watch with fascination, realizing that ingenuity, teamwork, and knowledge, not magic, likely guided the ancient process. The mystery becomes less about impossibility and more about human creativity. Attention turns to cultural interpretation. Scholars explore the connection between Moai and ancestor veneration. Oral histories describe mana, spiritual power, believed to be channeled through statues to protect communities. The Moai, therefore, are not simply sculptures, but conduits of memory and identity. A curator in a museum gently places a small artifact into a display case, knowing it represents threads of a story far larger than any single object. Respect grows for the spiritual depth behind the stone faces. As global interest intensifies, tourism transforms the island. Planes bring visitors to experience the landscape firsthand. Trails form near iconic sites. Guides share stories passed through generations. Yet concerns arise about preservation, erosion, foot traffic, and environmental strain. A ranger stands near Rano Raraku, watching visitors approach respectfully, cameras in hand. The wind rustles grass across the slopes. Protecting heritage becomes a shared responsibility, balancing curiosity with care. The island's mystery remains intact, but its fragility is clear. In recent years, Rapa Nui regains greater autonomy over its cultural sites and resources. Local voices lead restoration, research, and tourism efforts. Traditional dances, songs, and arts experience revival. Children learn ancestral language and stories in school. On a quiet evening, a group gathers near Ahu Tongariki, watching the sun set behind towering Moai. The statues cast long shadows across the grass. Someone sings a soft chant, the melody carried gently by the wind. Past and present intertwine, forming a living heritage. Today, Easter Island remains one of the world's great enigmas, a testament to human resilience, creativity, and spiritual depth. The Moai stand not as symbols of collapse, but as reminders of a people who shaped their world with vision and devotion. The ocean still surrounds the island in vast silence. Winds still sweep across volcanic slopes. The statues continue to watch, their calm expressions unchanged. The mysteries endure, not as puzzles to solve entirely, but as invitations to listen, observe, and reflect on the delicate balance between ambition, environment, and community. Let your thoughts drift gently across the island's quiet landscape. Picture the volcanic slopes, the grassy plains, the silent quarry where unfinished statues rest. Imagine standing beside a row of Moai at dawn, feeling the cool air brush against your skin, hearing only the soft rhythm of waves against stone. The centuries blur into one continuous moment, carvers shaping rock, swimmers braving waves, elders sharing stories, researchers brushing dust from ancient faces. All of it settles into calm remembrance, a tapestry woven from effort, belief, and time. Return now to your own quiet space. The ocean is distant, the wind still, the statue's only memory. The world around you holds a steady peace. Familiar sounds, gentle breath, soft darkness. Let the mysteries of Easter Island fade into a calm horizon, leaving you with a sense of connection to something ancient and enduring. Rest in the knowledge that history continues to live within stories, landscapes, and the quiet presence of stone. The night is yours. Let it carry you into deep, peaceful sleep.